It's an interesting time in women's bouldering. Runaway favorite Janja Garnbret has taken the season off, leaving the competitions much more open than they normally are. At the same time, a slew of young talent are coming onto the scene and vying for the position of the #1 boulderer in the world. Of these young climbers, 3 in particular have emerged as contenders for the title, and if they keep going the way they have, Janja might have some serious competition in the next few years as Brookerabatu, Orianne Bertone, and Natalia Grossman continue to break through on the international bouldering scene. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Natalia Grossman fan club. It's time for some more geeking out about cool climbing. Today, we're going to be looking at 3 young up-and-comers who have recently been making waves on the bouldering scene. Natalia, her teammate Brooke, and French prodigy Orianne Bertone. Now, these 3 women have been on the scene for a little while, but I would say as a group, they first caught the public eye in the 2021 Salt Lake City World Cups, where they took first, second, and third on the podium. Almost exactly a year later, they did the same thing in Seoul, Korea, putting the climbing world on notice. As Climbing.com said, Team USA possesses veritable legends in the making with Grossman and Rabatu. The French team possesses its new marquee young star in Bertone. So, how have these youngsters done it? What makes each of them unique? And when the dust is settled, who's going to be the best? Let's start with Brooke. I've done a full video breakdown on Brooke before, which you can check out here if you want, but the summary is this. Brooke's climbing style is defined by good flexibility, incredible footwork, and her ever-growing mental game. One of the unique things about Brookerabatu is that she was basically raised to be a climber, which my friend Bayor covered over on Climbers Crag.
While Brooke's climbing life started at the early age of 2 years old, we have to rewind a little bit further to truly understand her origin story, back before she was even born. See, the fame and reputation of the Rabatu name actually doesn't begin with Brooke, but in fact her parents, 3-time world champion Didier Rabatu, and 5-time US and 4-time world champion Robin Erbesfield Rabatu.
This put a lot of expectations on Brooke from a young age, and in my climbing styles video about her, I talk about how she's grown into this role and become more and more comfortable. This comfort allows her to fully embrace her creative style, and it leads to some really fun climbing when she's at her best. On the other side of the coin, you have Orianne Bertone, who by all accounts sort of came out of nowhere on the competition scene. After making a name for herself with some insanely hard outdoor ascents, she first started competing in the IFSC in 2019, and you could say it went pretty well. A quick peek at her profile, starting from the bottom. First, second, first, third, you get the idea. In 2021, after competitions resumed, she made the jump to the open category and started with a bang, placing second in Myrigan and second in Salt Lake City. Describing her, IFSC commentator Matt Groom wrote, "Orianne Bertone has quickly become a favorite of mine to watch. She has a style that is refreshing, delighting in finding new and interesting sequences." One of the defining features of Orianne's climbing is how insanely strong she is. She's so strong that Climbing.com compared her to a young Janja, and it's this strength that allows her to pull some of those unique sequences that Groom was talking about. She's also still growing up and learning the intricacies of competition climbing. Matt goes on to say that in the past she seemed overly frustrated when failing on boulders and harmed her own performance, but she seems to have found a new level of control recently. Likewise, when commentating on her recent performance in Korea, Climbing.com said that she was demonstrating a newfound composure and patience on the wall. A mature, composed Orianne is a scary thought for the rest of the climbing scene, but even on her best day, even with Janja out, there's still one final hurdle in the women's field guarding the podium, and that's the existence of Natalia Grossman. I've talked a bit about Natalia, so I'll try to keep it short. Natalia is an incredibly gifted all-around climber who has a stunning ability to read a problem correctly the first time and lock in her beta. She's incredibly strong and delicately technical, and she has all the tools to be the best boulderer in the world, and with Janja out, that's a title that I would assign to her. We were lucky enough to see these 3 women go head-to-head in Seoul, Korea recently, and I know I'm a little behind here, but oh my god, did they put on a show. Orianne kicked things off on Boulder 1, and you can see the raw power right away as she launches into this dyno. She then uses her height to her advantage with this heel hook and mantle up, and it's a perfect start for the French youngster. Brooke struggled with this opening dyno and could never stick it. Big moves are maybe the one weakness that she still has to work on, and this was a rough way to start things off, but later in the round, her newfound composure would start to kick in. Natalia came in beaming, crushed Boulder 1 in 2 attempts, and ended beaming, and a statement had been made. She was on fire after sending every boulder in the qualifications, and even though she was technically 1 attempt behind Orianne, the competition looked like it was Grossman's to lose. Women's 2 was a delicate slab, and I'm sorry, but IFSC, what is this camera angle? Who wants to see this? Orianne falls on her first attempt, but on the second, you can see what Macroom is talking about. Creativity and composure to find this new sequence and get to the top, instead of getting frustrated and trying to force something. With Orianne having 2 tops in 3 attempts, Brooke needed to show up on Boulder 2. We see a great example of her using her feet as hands at the start, before she pulled some really nice footwork to get the top. Natalia showed just how intelligent she is on Women's 2, going up on her first attempt and reaching down to the zone instead of trying to fall into that zone like other climbers had, and it's a flash for Grossman to tie her for first place. Women's 3 was cool. At the IFSC, this is what we want for dynamic moves. Orianne crushed this opening section, got the flick, but didn't have enough energy to make it to the top. Brooke got the flash with some beautiful climbing, showcasing her strength by catching this move without the toe hook, and then staticking this swing, and she was right back in the running for gold. Natalia decided to show off here. Just like, what is this? She doesn't need her feet? She then figured out how to use this heel hook to get the top on her 3rd attempt, and again, this is Natalia showcasing just how well-rounded she is, flashing the slab and then coming over and showing off her dynamism and raw finger strength on this more parkour-based boulder. So with the scores pretty even, it all came down to Boulder 4, and Orianne kicked things off with a masterclass. Just look at the foot first climbing, the intelligent staticism, and the composure to get the top. 3 tops, 4 zones for Orianne, putting her well in first place, and the pressure was on everyone else. Brooke showed off her creativity here, swinging into this toe hook and then using some gorgeous footwork, swapping her heels to move up the boulder and get the top. She didn't have enough zones to take first, but she climbed amazingly on the last boulder to lock up a podium, and I think this is the best Brooke has ever looked in a bouldering final. Even when the boulders weren't in her style, she found smart ways to work through them, and everyone should be terrified about how good she's going to be. That's a question for the future though. In the present, it was Natalia's day. The pressure was on her coming out to see if she could lock up the gold, but I don't even know what to say here. This must be insulting as a route setter to make a super cool bat hang foot first sequence and then some 20-year-old upstart just campuses their way through it. This is next level climbing. Natalia won gold and she would go on to do the same thing at the next 3 competitions, so I'm sorry this video is so late, but all 3 youngsters, along with other standouts like Camilla Moroni, climbed beautifully here, and I'm so excited about the future of women's bouldering. The undisputed queen of the hill this season, to me, is Natalia. She looked better than ever in Seoul, she's dominated ever since, and she keeps getting stronger, but Orianne has all the potential in the world, and Brooke looks like she's finally settling into finals and starting to reach her peak. I have no idea what the field will look like next year, but I'm curious what you guys think. Who will be the best out of these 3? Is there someone who I'm missing? Let me know in a comment. Thanks as always for watching, and I will catch you guys next time.